Okay, so welcome to the last big paper for this course. This is the evidence-based practice project where everything comes together. This is, you're going to find that there's a lot of stuff that you already submitted to me that is included in this paper. And the first thing is the PICO question, the synthesis of the literature, and then finally we're going to take all that and put it into a project that we can wrap up in a bow. This essentially is going to be an executive summary of your evidence-based practice project for the leadership in your organization to help establish the need for this change in practice. It must be 3 pages long. That's it. If it goes past 3 pages, I'm not reading it. So just make it 3 pages long. It must be very succinct and not wordy, no fluff. Okay, so again, this will require a draft for formative feedback, and I'll give you a lot of feedback to see, if you're on the right track, whatever, so that you can give me some revisions for your summative evaluation. Let's see. So again, first you always start with the introduction, which is the identify the need for change in practice. You want to reiterate that PICO question. And this time you want to also include the infrastructure that's needed to support a change in this practice setting. Remember that team that we talked about in the PICO proposal? Who are the key people that need to be involved in making this change happen? That's the infrastructure. Then you need to include your summary of the synthesized literature. Oh, also the bolded words here would be great headings for your paper. So the synthesized lit review of the best evidence that you have found. So you want to start with the parameters of your lit search, the search engines used in the keywords, and then put 2 or 3 paragraphs of the synthesis citing all the literature that's used as succinctly as possible. Remember who's going to be reading this? People that glaze over when they read about research, okay? Then you want to, based on that, identify the proposed change in practice that's based on the evidence. This should be a very logical, flowing paper. Okay, that's a sentence or 2, not long. Then, what is the change strategy that you're going to use to promote team engagement? I suggest that you use whatever change strategy is used in that organization normally when they have change. So find out what that is. That's part of your clinical hours that you need to be doing, or should have been doing, I should say. So it needs to be consistent with the organizational culture. And if there is nothing identified, then just pick one that you think is going to be working the best. Then comes the rollout plan. There's an example in your book on that, but you need to identify a time frame for this rollout, list and define all the steps in the rollout, and the rollout should be based on the change theory or the EBP model that you have chosen. So these 2 things should connect. And then the next section is the project evaluation. You want to identify the specific data that you plan to collect to evaluate the change, focusing on the PICO outcome that you identified in the O in your PICO question, okay? It's not staff compliance, because that is not part of your PICO, or part of evidence-based practice, I might say. So you want to include specific parameters also that identify success or for failure, and how the data will be collected. Now, sometimes the data is already being collected by infection control or some other hospital process. That is perfectly fine. You don't need to get in very specifics, but just say that this is collected and reported quarterly or whatever it is. And then finally, how you're going to disseminate the plan, how you can disseminate these results. And disseminate, it's more than your unit, it's certainly more than your unit, it's more than the hospital. You need to think about dissemination beyond the hospital. Locally, if you belong to a hospital system, talk about how you're going to do that. You also want to think about the region. Do you belong to any professional organizations where you could present this? There's lots of organizations that are interested in evidence-based practice, so I need you to be thinking about that. And that's the paper, but again, it should be, the body of this paper should only be 3 pages long. You don't want to bore anybody. Okay? So, and also, I guess that's about it. Okay? So, good luck, and I look forward to reading your papers.